Christmas Eve celebrations around town. The cold weather continues in the city. And new Israeli airstrikes on Gaza leave more than 90 dead. Hello and welcome to TVB News. Many Hong Kong residents say they are getting into the festive spirit in the city. Large crowds gathered at various sites in the city boasting colorful Christmas decorations. Wu Ai has more.
It is Christmas Eve today and the festive spirit remains high in the city. Christmas decorations at the Peninsula Hotel in Tsim Sha Tsui attracted tourists and locals looking to take pictures. Some decided to include themselves in their photos, while others focused on the decorations. This is the scene outside a shopping mall in Tsim Sha Tsui. People packed together enjoying the festivals and holiday spirits. Father Christmas, Santa Claus, also appeared. This man said he thinks Tsim Sha Tsui has the best Christmas decorations in Hong Kong. I came here with my family. We will stay here to enjoy the atmosphere, he said. This woman said the Christmas atmosphere is stronger this year. While she has yet to make travel plans for the holidays, she hopes her children can treat her to a trip somewhere. One of the main events on the festive agenda is a traditional Christmas dinner. This is a French restaurant near the Tsim Sha Tsui promenade. The manager said bookings for $2,000 Christmas dinners were sold out 2 or 3 weeks ago. 50% of the bookings came from mainland customers. Many wanted to experience the festival in Hong Kong because there are Western and Eastern elements in it, he said. Mimos 9, TVB News.
More than 1 million people traveled in and out of Hong Kong on Saturday as the Christmas holidays got underway. Mimos Ai reports.
Outside the Hong Kong checkpoint of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, a sign was put up for travelers. It says the waiting time for Go buses, shuttle buses that travel between the SAR, Macau and Zhuhai, is around 30 minutes or longer. Sources say a large number of travelers appeared at the checkpoint this morning, hoping to catch the Go buses. The crowds led the immigration department to temporarily adopt people flow management measures. I am traveling to the mainland to spend time with my grandchildren, this man said. He said he does not worry about the relative lack of festive spirit in the mainland. You can create your own Christmas vibes, he said. At the departure hall of the West Kowloon station, meanwhile, crowds can be seen waiting to leave the city. Despite tickets for many trains already sold out, some people still lingered around ticketing counters. This woman who traveled with her family said they are heading to Guangzhou. We want to experience what Christmas is like in the mainland, she said.
Merry Christmas!
Immigration authority says more than 670,000 people departed the city yesterday, with over 500,000 of them Hong Kongers. News 9, TVB News.
The frost warning is in force again after the observatory had it removed early this morning. Some farmers said the cold weather affected their harvest. Some frost was seen on the windscreen of this car. The observatory warned the public that frost may occur on higher ground or in the northern parts of the new territories. While this farm in Sheung Shui appeared to have been spared frost, this farmer said the low temperatures caused vegetables to stop growing and significantly affected his harvest. Hong Kong has recorded an upsurge in invasive group B streptococcus or GBS cases in recent months. 2 patients died. The disease could lead to sepsis and meningitis among high-risk groups, including the elderly. The cases involving invasive group B streptococcus, or GBS, were alerted to the Center for Health Protection from hospitals under the New Territories East Cluster. Hong Kong recorded a spike in its tally of GBS cases from around 18 cases a month to some 30 cases in September, with infections reported from Sha Tin, Tai Po, and the North District before seeing a decline. After genome testing, 8 patients aged between 49 and 85 were identified to have the more severe strain of GBS, ST283. 2 of the 8 patients eventually succumbed to the illness. Most of these patients visited a dawn market in Sheung Shui, where they bought freshwater fish 1 month before the onset of symptoms. Some shoppers there expressed worries as they often cook freshwater fish. Dr. Zhang Keiyan, who specializes in infectious diseases, said the number of patients with such issues he received reached around 2 to 3 folds of the regular case counts and is not limited to the new territories.
隨着全球嗰個氣温。
Dr. Zhang said with global warming, the infection and breeding rates of bacteria could be ratcheted up. He added such GBS could be spread not just among fish, but also among mammals. Dr. Zhang noted the main channel of transmission is through handling raw food tainted with GBS if there are wounds in the hand or when consuming undercooked food. The elderly and immunocompromised individuals are more susceptible to infection. Initial symptoms can be akin to a cold, but delayed treatment can lead to joint problems, encephalitis, and endocarditis, which are life-threatening inflammation of the brain and the inner lining of the heart, respectively. More than 90 Palestinians, including dozens from an extended family, were reportedly killed in Israeli airstrikes on 2 homes in Gaza. This after UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres warned that nowhere is safe in the Gaza Strip and that Israel's offensive has created massive obstacles to distribution of humanitarian aid. U.S. President Joe Biden said he spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Saturday, a day after the U.S. again shielded Israel in the diplomatic arena via a watered-down Security Council resolution. The Israeli military also said troops had arrested hundreds of Palestinian fighters from Hamas and other groups, with more than 700 sent to Israel for interrogation. Nasri Karim with more.
Medics at a makeshift tent in the northern Jabalia refugee camp frantically attend to Palestinians injured in an Israeli strike. In Khan Yunis in the south, the wounded are rushed to hospitals as Israel's bombardment across Gaza continues unabated. According to the United Nations, this is the greatest impediment to saving lives, the relentless airstrikes that prevent aid from reaching areas where it is needed the most. This after Friday's watered-down UNC Council resolution calling for an immediate speeding up of aid deliveries to hungry and desperate civilians in Gaza. It fell short of the halt to hostilities that most nations were seeking, which would remove obstacles for humanitarian aid trucks. Gaza health officials say more than 200 Palestinians were killed in the previous 24 hours. U.S. President Joe Biden said he had a long conversation with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Did you tell him not to strike Hamas in a preemptive strike?
I had a long talk with Netanyahu today, and it's a private conversation.
Mr. President, did you ask for a ceasefire today?
I had a private conversation. I did not ask for a ceasefire.
Netanyahu reportedly said Israel would continue its bombardment until its objectives were fulfilled, which includes the total elimination of Hamas. Among those reportedly killed in airstrikes were 76 members of the extended al-Mughrabi family. This includes Issam al-Mughrabi, a veteran employee of the UN Development Programme, his wife and 5 children. In an attack on the Nusayrat refugee camp, local TV journalist Mohammed Khalifa was killed, along with 14 others. Israel's military, the IDF, on Sunday said 8 of its soldiers were killed, bringing the total since the start of the ground offensive on October 27th to 154. The Israeli army released footage captured by a camera mounted on an army unit dog inside a Hamas tunnel in the Issa region. The IDF is hoping to complete its mission to gain control of northern Gaza before focusing on the southern regions.
Christian Palestinians in Bethlehem held somber prayers on Saturday and mourned the deaths of thousands in Gaza at a downbeat Christmas celebration. Pilgrims flocked to the reputed location of the stable and the manger in the town that's said to be the birthplace of Jesus. It's usually a colorful scene, but not this year. There is no Christmas tree, and the weekend was marked with the silent lighting of candles for those killed in Gaza. A religious leader at the vigil said they want to express a message of peace.
Christmas right now in different ways, with joyful celebrations, lighting of Christmas trees, celebrations and events. But in the hometown of Christmas, this is what Christmas looks like. We hope that the world pays attention to the plight of the Palestinians, to our suffering, and for the need and the urgent need for justice in this land, and the very urgent need of a ceasefire.
In a sign that the conflict could be expanding, an Israel-affiliated merchant vessel was struck by an unmanned aerial vehicle off India's west coast. British maritime security firm Ambrose said it is the first known such attack so far away from the Red Sea since the Gaza war. The tanker, identified by the Indian Coast Guard as the MV Camp Pluto, was carrying crude oil from Saudi Arabia and had around 20 Indians on board. A fire on the Liberian-flagged tanker was extinguished without crew casualties in the incident. The Yemen-based Houthi group said, in solidarity with the Palestinians in Gaza, it would attack any vessel with links to Israel, either heading to Israel or stopping there. The United States said it shot down 4 drones coming from Yemen. Still ahead. In Russia, an anti-war campaigner barred from running against Putin in the upcoming presidential election. Security stepped up around Cologne Cathedral in Germany amid terror threat. And Hong Kong e-toll implemented at Aberdine Tunnel. Welcome back. An anti-war campaigner and a critic of Vladimir Putin has been banned from next year's Russian presidential election. Former TV journalist Yekaterina Dunsova was said to have made mistakes on her application form. It is further fuel for Putin critics who say the leader has quashed dissent. David Garrett reports.
Vladimir Putin has held power in the Kremlin for more than 2 decades. The expectation is that in March he will reign supreme again. Volunteers began compiling the signatures Putin needs to run for a 5th term in the upcoming election. The 71-year-old must be nominated by at least 500 supporters and obtain 300,000 signatures from 40 regions. This supporter says no one doubts the authority here. We are simply obliged to sign. The incumbent will run as an independent candidate in 2024. He has previously amended the constitution to find ways to extend his time in power. The Just Russia for Truth party and its leader, Sergei Mironov, say they are backing Putin at a time of war. We consider it necessary to support our president, not to pretend to be a so-called democracy, Mironov said. Meanwhile, Yekaterina Dunsova, now barred from the presidential race, says she will challenge the Central Electoral Commission's decision in the Supreme Court. She was planning to run on a platform of ending the war in Ukraine and releasing political prisoners. The Central Electoral Commission voted unanimously to reject her candidacy because of what they say were 100 mistakes in her application. Putin's critics will use this as evidence that no one with genuine opposing views will be allowed to stand against him. During his 24 years in power, Putin has silenced nearly all dissenting voices. Ella Pamfilova, the head of the Electoral Commission, told 40-year-old Dunsova while rejecting her application that you are a young woman, you still have everything ahead. A minus can always be turned into a positive. It's still an experience. Another critic of the war in Ukraine should get the chance to try to challenge Putin. Boris Nadezhdin has the backing of the Civic Initiative Party. Many military families also support Nadezhdin because they are worried about long deployments and the direction of the war in Ukraine. Rather than toppling Putin, Nadezhdin suggested his main aim is survival. I hope I will remain alive and free, he said after his nomination. Many of Putin's political opponents have died, been jailed or live in exile. Nikolai Kharitonov will be the candidate for the Communist Party. He challenged Putin way back in 2004, winning only 14% of the vote. He's unlikely to be a serious contender in March. This will be the first election since Putin's invasion of Ukraine. The Defense Ministry released footage that purportedly shows the Russian army pushing back several attacks in eastern Ukraine. The Russian Air Defense Force says it shot down 36 drones and intercepted 6 rockets. With the conflict grinding on, close to a stalemate, Russian state media say 80% of the country still want Putin to remain as president. David Garrett, TVB News.
German police stepped up security and increased their presence at Cologne Cathedral after indications of an attack planned for New Year's Eve. They are using sniffer dogs and extra officers outside of the place of worship ahead of Mass on Christmas Eve. They've told the public to expect thorough searches and to arrive early. Police did not give further details of their intelligence because they do not want to compromise the investigation. Austria and Spain also have increased security at churches and Christmas markets amid fears of attacks. In South Korea, 3 elderly women were killed by electrocution at a public bathhouse in the central city of Sejong. The 3 women, all in their 70s, were in a hot tub at the bathhouse when the incident happened early Sunday morning. A witness said she called police after all 3 screamed and collapsed. They were rushed to a hospital where 2 were pronounced dead shortly afterwards, while the other died hours later. Reports say several more people were in the bath at the time, but only those in the hot tub were affected. Officials say the bathhouse passed an electricity safety check in June. A fisherman in Shaoqing-wan Typhoon Shelter reportedly dredged up what's suspected to be a human jawbone while fishing at sea. The fisherman reported his discovery to the police at 7 a.m. The suspected jawbone was found in the waters of Potoi Island, which is outside Hong Kong waters. Marine police are investigating the incident. The Hong Kong e-toll system has been extended to the Aberdine tunnel this morning, 5 a.m. To facilitate the transition from manual toll booths to the new electronic toll system, temporary traffic arrangements were implemented around Aberdeen Tunnel starting at 1 a.m. The Transport Department said the e-toll sensors for the Wan Chai bound tunnel were set up on the overhead gantry in the eastbound section of Wan Chau Hang Road. For traffic heading for Aberdeen, sensors were set up near the tunnel exit. Christmas decorations have been put up around town. Before we leave you tonight, let's take a look.